What's up, everybody? Investing Club here, and we had some pretty big news come in over the weekend. Warren Buffett sold his entire stake of airline stocks. That's 4 different airline stocks that Warren Buffett sold. He sold all of his shares in United, American Airlines, Delta, and Southwest Airlines. Now, for a lot of people, this is pretty surprising, the fact that Warren Buffett would sell stocks at a loss. Because when people think of Warren Buffett, what do they usually think of? Buy and hold. Warren Buffett is one of the largest proponents of buy and hold investing there is. So what actually made him sell out of his entire position of airline stocks at a loss? Berkshire Hathaway had their shareholder meeting over the weekend, and there Warren Buffett said that he saw a big shift happening in the airline industry and doesn't know that they will be back at full strength. And this is a quote from the shareholder meeting. Warren Buffett said, "I don't know whether it's 2 or 3 years from now that as many people will fly as many passenger miles as they did last year. They may and they may not, but the future is much less clear to me. How the business will turn out, though through absolutely no fault of the airlines themselves." And there's something that was a low probability event that happened, and it happened to hurt the travel business, the hotel business, cruise business, and theme park business, and the airline business in particular. And of course, the airline business has the problem that if the business comes back 70% or 80%, the aircraft don't disappear. And so I agree with Warren Buffett on this. I don't think it's clear how many people will be flying when this is all over. And there's a lot of uncertainty in the airline industry right now. And I think that's a big reason why he sold out. Now, it's also pretty interesting that around a month ago, when Warren Buffett first sold some stocks in airlines, I made a video talking about how it wasn't a good look for airline stocks. And a bunch of people in the comments were saying he's not actually selling. All he's doing is cutting down his stake to below 10% so he gets under the reporting threshold. And everyone was believing that. And now we know the real reason. True, he wanted to get under the threshold, but the only reason he wanted to do that was so he could dump the rest of his stock without having to tell everyone until now. Warren Buffett also said something else interesting. He said, when we sell something, very often it's going to be our entire stake. I mean, we don't trim positions. So this is for the next time Warren Buffett starts to sell something. You can't use that excuse anymore if he's just trimming his positions, because he's came out and said he doesn't do that. Now, if airline industries don't come back, they're going to have to either take on more debt or dilute their shares to raise money, and either of which will destroy value for shareholders. And so even though Warren Buffett owned airline stocks for the last few years, what a lot of people don't know is Warren Buffett used to hate airline stocks. And I have a quote from his 2007 annual report. Quote, "The airline industry's demand for capital ever since the first flight has been insatiable. Investors have poured money into a bottomless pit, attracted by growth when they should have been repelled by it. And I, to my shame, participated in this foolishness when I had Berkshire by U.S. Air preferred stock in 1989. So guys, Warren Buffett has made this mistake before. He has a love-hate relationship with airlines where he says they're a bottomless pit and then he buys stock in them. So the thing is, if he hates airline stocks, why did he start buying them in around 2015 to 2016? Because that is when he started buying the position he recently sold. And my opinion on why he did is simply because he really didn't have anywhere else to put the money. If you studied Warren Buffett, you'll know throughout history there's been periods of time where the markets have been going up like crazy and Warren Buffett doesn't really find any opportunities to put his money in. And I think he was practically forced to buy airlines in 2016 because he already had a historic amount of cash sitting on the sidelines and didn't want even more cash just sitting around doing nothing. And airlines were practically the only industry trading at a reasonable valuation at that time. So that's why I think they bought. And I think now people that follow Warren Buffett's investments are put in a pretty tricky position because they thought that airlines were a good buy just because Warren Buffett invested in them. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, never buy a stock because someone else is. It doesn't matter who it is. That's something that applied to me. Even if Warren Buffett's investing in something, I don't really care if it's a good deal. If I think it's a good deal, I'll buy it. But if not, then I won't buy it. It's that simple. Now, I'm not affected at all by this because I don't own airline stocks and I probably will never buy an airline stock in my life. And if you watch my video where I analyze the airline industry, you will know my reasons for this, and I'll put a card up to it right now. But for a quick recap, why don't I like airline stocks? Because the industry is highly competitive, has razor-thin margins, And it's impossible to have a sustainable competitive advantage, what Warren Buffett likes to call a moat. No airline companies have a real moat. They're capital intensive and carry massive loads of debt, and they are highly cyclical. And for those reasons, the airline industry just isn't a place where I want to be putting my money, even with the distressed price that a lot of airlines are currently trading at. Now, if you're a current holder of airline stocks, I really don't know what to tell you. You're in a pretty tough position, and the only thing I can really say to you is you really should never have bought airline stocks in the first place. Now, if you did buy airline stocks, I would assume it's for one of the three reasons. First, either one, because Warren Buffett bought airline stocks, two, because they pay a nice dividend, or three, because the share price has been increasing in the past 5 years. And maybe it's a combination of a few of those. But the hard truth is that none of these really apply anymore to airline stocks. First, Warren Buffett sold all his airline stocks. So if you're someone who follows every investment he makes, then it would make sense that you would sell also at a loss. And maybe you bought some of these airline stocks because they do have a pretty nice dividend. At least they have in the past. But the thing is now I don't see airlines reinstating a dividend for the foreseeable future. And if any of them get support from the government, a stipulation will likely be that they're not allowed to pay a dividend. So now you have to ask yourself if you like these stocks, even if you're not receiving a dividend from them. And lastly, yes, airline prices have been increasing. Airline stocks have been increasing over the past few years. But as I've said before, this is because 96% of their free cash flow has been spent on share buybacks. And since all airlines are now out of money, this is going to stop. There's going to be no more share buybacks. And I think now we will see what the industry looks like without it being manipulated by a massive amount of share buybacks. And what I think will happen is we'll see extremely slow growth from this industry coming out of this recession. Now, all that being said, you can still be bullish on airline stocks. Just because I don't like them doesn't mean you can't buy them if you don't want to. You could have a different opinion than me. You could think the airline industry will rebound. And if you research them and that's what you think, then I wish you the best. And I certainly hope airlines recover. But at the end of the day, this industry is just filled with too much uncertainty. Even without the uncertainty, I don't like this industry in general. So that's my thoughts on what happened over the weekend. And we will see what the reaction is from shareholders of airline stocks. Will they go down after this news, or will they actually go up? That remains to be seen. And I guess we will just have to wait and see. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you on the next video.